Hi all, Los D Punch Out TV. Welcome back to another episode of the Crime Watch Files. A little bit different from Crime Watch UK. This is where there's just been one spanner or one helmet of the month. So we go in on the one person. There's not a lot been happening in boxing, and I couldn't think of enough people to get up on the board for do the Crime Watch UK, so we'll do the Crime Watch file. And this week's bell end of the month is none other than the man himself, Don, aka Con Charles. Now, this one we're going to do a bit of detective work on this series, on this episode, should I say, because I wanted to get this out last week, but I didn't get round to doing it, so I'm late with this Crime Watch file. But none other than let's go in on him, and let's point out a few facts. And this was all due to an interview what he did on TalkSport last week, where he was in the camp being interviewed by none other than Bacon Ears, Spencer Oliver, the man with the biggest wing nuts out there. And I've put him in on the Crime Watch file this month because of the lies and the fraudness from this guy. So let's rewind it back a little bit, and don't take this personal. This is just a laugh, but with a few home truths as well. Let's rewind it back a bit. I mean, it's that long now. I'll forget half of it, but I'll try my best to remember the majority of it. So let's rewind it back. You were due to fight Joseph Parker in February. I've forgotten the date now, but it was the end of February. You pulled out of the fight because of a so-called illness what Daniel de Bum's got. Right? So the fight never went ahead. You flew home. Martin Piccoli had to step in to fight Joseph Parker. Daniel de Bums went missing from the 20th of February and reappeared back on the 27th of March. Right? Went off social media, went off the planet. Nobody could find him. No interviews, no posts, no Facebook feeds, no nothing explaining where he was and what this illness was. So Don Charles, or should I say Con Charles, fair credit to him, he stuck around and he tried to answer, or tried to spin a web over the public with his analysis of what happened. So, you did an interview with Danny Flexen on Box Nation about 3 weeks after you pulled out of the fight. And Danny Flexen put it to you about what was wrong with him, what was the illness, and why did you pull out the fight, and so on and so on. Con Charles got very heated in that interview, and it's still up on Box Nation. You can go watch it. He got very, I'd say, emotional, and got his knickers in a twist and didn't like some of the questions what he was asked. And they weren't directly tough questions, but he came out with, and I quote, "These are your words, Con Charles. You said you pulled Daniel's dad and Frank Warren pulled him out of the fight because the doctor said he wasn't well enough to take the fight. He recommended that he didn't take the fight because of swollen glands. And I think it was a swollen eardrum as well. Now, you put it down to a so-called illness, what you said. You didn't know what it was. You said, and I quote, you said, Con Charles, that when you took Daniel de Bums over from Shane McGuigan warned you that this kid falls ill during training camp He did it when he fought Trevor Bryan for the WBA regular. And then you said, when you took him on from Shane McGuigan, that he fell ill against Anthony Joshua fight, the same illness where all his glands swell up and stuff like that, and his throat, sorry. And you said it happened against Alexander Usyk in the first fight. So there was 3 of them, and it happened when he was training in preparation for Joseph Parker fight. But you never pulled him out against Usyk. I think you said Miller as well. You never pulled him out against Usyk, and you never pulled him out against Anthony Joshua, but it was the same illness. Now, I'm not too sure if Conchal said it was something to do with the air conditioning, but there was a rumour going around it could be the air conditioning out there in Saudi Arabia what played a part of this so-called swollen glands. So, it's happened twice to you, 3 times, sorry. Once against Anthony Joshua, Usyk and Joseph Parker. But he was pulled out against Joseph Parker. And you were also warned that Shane McGuigan, it happened to him. He told you when he fought Trevor Bryan for the WBA regular. Right. My question to you, Don Charles, a.k.a. the Con Man. What's happening now in this training camp? Because I seen an interview with you last week on TalkSport, and you said he's in perfect condition, everything's going to plan. He's not pulled out of this fight against Alexander Usyk for undisputed. Where are these doctor's statements, what Bricktop said that he had? They've never been seen. Who is this doctor, what still, after all these months, has still never been named? And you said one of them was a British Boxing Board of Control doctor who worked for the British Boxing Board of Control. He's still never been named. Where did he go for them 27 days? Where did he disappear? What was the illness? And I quote, you said on that interview on Box Nation to Danny Flexen, you said that next time when he comes back, we're going to get to the bottom of this illness. We're going to send him off for tests and we're going to find out what this illness is. So I put it to you all these months later, what is this illness? Why have you never come out and told us what this so-called illness is? Still to this day, you say you're a man of the cloth, and you had to go at Alexander Usyk because you called him a fraud and a cheat because of this body shot. And you're still crying about it all these years later. And this is why I've made you the absolute weapon of the month, the helmet, whatever you want to call it. The bell end of the month, whatever. Because for some people have forgotten about it, but I haven't forgotten about it, because as time's gone on, you still haven't come out and named any of these. Was he juicing and he was about to pop? So you pulled, the plug was pulled and he went off and disappeared for nearly a month, 27 days to get the juice out of him. I don't know. These are questions what should have been asked to you. Who is this doctor? Where are the statements? You said you were going to run tests on him. As a trainer, if I was to take on another fighter, a fighter from another trainer, and the trainer told me that he falls ill all the time during training camp, the first thing I would do would send this kid to the doctors and have a shitload of tests ran on him to figure out what it was. You said you were going to do that in his next training camp. In fact, you said you were going to do it as soon as he came back, and it's never been done. You still haven't come out with what this illness was, where he was for 27 days, who this doctor was. I'll tell you why. because it was a plan. I think it was a plan. You were never in my eyes ever going to fight Joseph Parker, because this for me was a trick, because you wanted undisputed. And I think it was planned all along, especially since that time when Alexander Usyk was in the crowd at the AJ fight. I think that was when it was all signed and sealed. Because let's not get it twisted. If we can all remember, when Usyk beat Tyson Fury in the second fight, Daniel Dubois jumped in the ring and was offering Usyk out. Like I said before, when Usyk was having his gloves taken off, he turned around, he's got a microphone shoved up his nostrils, and Dubois was offering him out. It all looked so fishy. A few channels did pursue with all this stuff, but they seem to have brushed it under the carpet now. But because you were still moaning the other day about this low blow business and saying it was a body shot, I just thought, you know what? I'll let it reappear its ugly head again, and I'll make another video. Because people forget about stuff like this, or they criticise me for calling it out. But for me, you'll always be known as Con Charles, a fraudster, a liar. Because everything what you said you were going to do, you still haven't done it. You said that you were going to run tests on this, on your fighter, and tell the media what this illness was. And then it's very funny how you said the other day everything's going to plan in this training camp for Undisputed. It was either two things this come down to. It was a pure duck, because you wanted to go for Undisputed, or the bums was juicing. But I'm going to leave that there. And like I say, I think justice will be done when Alexander Usyk schools Daniel Dubois, and then hopefully Joseph Parker will get a shot at a title, or Ajit Kabayel, the people who he should have been fighting. It should have been Alexander Usyk versus Kabayel and Dubois versus Parker. You should have rescheduled that fight if your fight was ill, but you didn't. You shit out and you went the other way, and you told a bunch of lies. And you still, like I say, haven't come out with where he was, who the doctor was, where these statements are, what was the illness. So for me, Con Charles is the twat of the month. And I'll always name him Con Charles, the fraudster, the liar, because that's what you are. You can't have the cheek to call Alexander Usyk a fraud and a cheat when you're pulling games like this out of the hat. So peace out, and I'll catch you on the next files.